question about work history while you're right there. I recently had my resume tweaked by I'm getting my master's degree right now, and one of my instructors looked at it for me just a couple weeks ago, actually. And he suggested that unless it's specifically pertinent to the position, not including anything that's over 10 years old. What do you think about that?
Yes, so for you, if you have 11, 12 years of experience, it's probably not going to fit on that one page. You might not want to include when you worked at the burger.
Well, I have 8 years between 2 positions, 6 at one and 2 at another, and he said because prior to that wasn't really a business type environment, not to include that stuff.
That would be fine, especially depending on the role. What were they more kind of retail or food?
I was a vet tech for an animal hospital.
I would include that. I'm just going to tell you, that to me is very professional. You might not include things in between. So if you worked at a restaurant.
Yeah, I worked for Taco Bell for 6 years, and I was an assistant manager. But he said not to include that as well because it was so far long ago.
I don't know, Carolyn. I would say
it might be a one-liner. I wouldn't get into all the details.
Yes.
But those not include as many objectives and things as what I did.
Yeah,
like an assistant manager, I would put on there because you manage people, you supervise, and you might put was responsible for payroll, comma this, and that. It's one line.
Well, and at the animal hospital, I actually ran the kennel as well. I managed the kennel kids.
To me, those are leadership.
What kind of job are you applying for?
At this point, the last 6 years, I've worked for a marketing and advertising company.
Okay.
And I was an account manager.
Okay.
And that's what I've done for the last 4.5. I've been an account manager. Prior to that, the first 1.5 years there, I was in sales for the same company.
Well, you know, I mean, again, those are, if you had roles that were managerial roles and leadership roles, I think it's worth a one-liner.
And I can look at your resume afterwards if you want to.
I didn't have access to it.
If it's relevant and it supports,
I can make sure I have
to
it.
me, it's like, does it support the objective of does it demonstrate relevant skills and motivation and leadership that is supportive of the position that you're seeking? So again, if you were the counter clerk at McDonald's for 6 years in high school and you're applying for a teaching position, I don't know. I mean, unless you want to say, hey, this is what I did to pay my bills to get me through school. But if it is, hey, I was the assistant manager, I got promoted to assistant manager at Taco Bell after 6 months, and I was responsible for all these things. I think it's fair game.
And I like when I see on a resume that there's some longevity in that position, because the last thing you want to do when you hire someone is replace them 6 months or a year later. You want somebody that once you've invested in them to stick around. And so, if you were at Taco Bell for 6 years,
17 to 23.
I would like to see that.
Okay, so my other question then is, after I left Taco Bell because I knew that I didn't want to do fast food the rest of my life, wasn't my choice. I had, a 1.5 years in retail, and then I did, the vet tech thing for a while. And so, would you include all of that? Because not necessarily, like retail, I worked for Ordnance for a 1.5 years. It wasn't, it wasn't necessarily pertinent.
Right.
So how do you explain the gap in time? What do you do there?
Yeah.
That's the other, I don't want to show that I've had 25 jobs.
No. Yeah, I was going to say that's the other thing. You don't want to show too many.
Yeah.
And with that, if you were doing the retail in addition to doing the vet, you might just list the vet. I wouldn't leave a gap of 2 years when you just didn't want to list you worked at
I worked at the
McDonald's
vet for a couple of years.
Then you might want to put that in there.
Prior to that, I was in retail for a year and a half, and then Taco Bell was before that.
Okay. I'll look at your resume because that's one thing. You don't want to look like you didn't work for a 1.5 years, but
Exactly.
you don't have to put you did 2 part-time jobs on there.
Yeah.
And you can do a one line. There's nothing wrong with that because I'm with you. I would be like, well, okay, she worked really well and then she stopped for 3 years. Maybe and then in the interview, that's when I would say, tell me about it. And you might say, well, I chose to stay at home and raise my children, or, oh, okay, that makes sense. There's still a way to put that on your resumes to make it look like you wanted to work or you had employment.
Really
yeah.